Good evening and welcome to tonight's vice presidential debate. I'm Michael Smith, your co-moderator, as well co-moderating with Egg Boiler 2K of the newly merged New York Times with MSNBC. I hope all of you are doing well this evening. We have a few questions to get to for tonight's debate. We have just some stock questions. It's not going to be mini questions, but we have some stock questions for our vice presidential participants tonight. Now we have two candidates from the two largest campaigns so far. Now I want to give everyone a note before we continue that these two candidates were the ones that were reached out to. The Akon artist vice presidential running mate, unfortunately we had a bit of a scheduling mishap and the Savory seems to be at work, so they cannot join us tonight. But we do have Mitch Matrix and William P. Nixon joining us tonight for the vice presidential debate. Tonight's debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, a nonpartisan organization that regulate and control presidential debates. So, without further ado, we're going to introduce the candidates and then go on a commercial break, and then from there we will continue the debate with further questioning. Live from MSNBC Studios, Studio 3K, this is the vice presidential debate live on MSNBC, introducing our candidates. From the Armand Foley ticket, please welcome William P. Nixon. And from the Bayahan Filipino ticket, please welcome Mitch Matrix. Both candidates are ready to battle it out as to see whose opinion they can woo most, and can they change the hearts and minds of Americans across the country as the election looms 2 days from now. As really these candidates are really trying to heat it up as they can see who can win re-election and who can win the election currently. As Armand Foley is leading in the polls, we're going to see what these VP candidates have to say about their candidates and what they would do if they became president of the United States. Coming up after this break.
Welcome back to the MSNBC Vice Presidential Debate. We will now begin with our questions. Are there any rules to the questions, Michael?
Right. So we're gonna be asking some hard, grueling questions tonight. Now we're gonna be asking Mitch Matrix and William P Nation these questions. Now, Egg, you have some questions, so go ahead, Egg, with the questions.
All right. As vice president, your duty would be to maintain control of and preside over the Senate. How would you handle this duty, and what sets you apart from your opponents in this sense? Uh, Mitch, you can go ahead and answer first if you'd
Yeah.
like.
Sure thing. So, my past experience as Speaker of the House, as many probably know, call me Speaker Mitch. Uh, One second, can somebody mute their mic? I'm just hearing like a bad reverb. Apologies.
So I don't know who that is. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's better. All right, so my former experience as Speaker of the House, not only that, but I know many are not gonna like this, but my former time as county executive within Ridgeway County, I presided over many sessions of the county board. If any of you guys know what that is. Uh, as you all know, Ridgeway is a
Right.
group far more developed than this current game that we're in, American Roleplay. However, I came here to, add my expertise to this community, and without a doubt, presiding over a Senate session, or being president of the Senate is something way more minuscule than presiding over 100 plus people. So, yeah.
And go on, William, with that question.
Well, I've had over, geez, God, about 2 years, little over 2 years in the NUSA Senate. Not consecutively, obviously, or consecutively, but since 2015, about 2 years in the NUSA Senate. Presided many times. I helped cement the most recent amendment to the Senate standing rules with Zach and Cylinder and a con artist, and I feel as though between it's between myself and a con artist who are the most suited in terms of the current legislation, procedure, and standing rules to preside over the Senate.
So those are some good responses, I think, Egg. Okay, so I want to talk to you about my question. Now, this is a major question that really is one that Egg, which I think is really good. You are the successor to the president, and you would take over all the duties of president, and again, multiple different cases. If you were burdened with the duty, if an assassination attempt, assassination, resignation, however it goes, if you had this duty to take care of, how would you fulfill it? What would you do? What would be some of the first things you do in your eyes to make America a safer and stronger place? Go ahead and start, Matrix.
Well, firstly, I'd like to say, my running mate, uh, Brian Filipino. I've known Brian for a little over 2 years now. We've done great work together in the past, and I can say more than anything, he's truly shown me that he's more than capable of being a leader and leading American roleplay to where it needs to be. Brian shows us all time and time again his ability to persevere through adversity and bounce back when things get tough. Not too long ago, Brian was hospitalized, and days later, he's back at full strength and ready to serve the American people. And I'm more than proud to be his vice presidential candidate. That being said, if I was ever burdened, not even burdened, because of course, being the president of the United States is something, well, it's of course the highest office in the land and be a pleasure to serve, as always. But in this scenario where I'm the president, I believe key things like revamping law enforcement, uh, making bills pertaining to law enforcement, and criminal justice as well as
Mm-hmm.
massive military expansion. I think those are all important things to look after and go forward with as of right now. Of course, things will change down the line. Things will get harder or easier, who knows? But I believe those are some of the key things I'd focus on as of right now.
Okay, what about you, William? What would you focus on if you were burdened with the task of being the new president?
Well, I was with Armin's campaign throughout the entire thing. First his only running mate, and we wrote our policy or his policy together. And in the unfortunate circumstance that he would have to step aside, I would stay the course, Michael.
Right. Okay. Definitely. That's good questions. Ed, questions from you.
Yeah, 1 minute. All right. The vice president provides aid to the president in many different circumstances, but also has impacts of their own within Congress. Can you explain legislation or legislative packages your campaign is considering to front or sponsor that would affect viewers? Mitch, you can begin.
I only think it's right that Liam goes. I've been starting on every question. I'll give you a chance to go,
Sure.
Liam.
Well, really anything on the floor that the administration would deem essential or otherwise beneficial to the American people in furthering the endeavor of our American experiment. I've played a key role in most, if not all, legislation that's been on the Senate floor, and it's passing and it's failing. I'd like to continue to do so into the future.
Okay, go ahead, Mitch. Now you can go ahead and answer, Mitch.
All right. So, in terms of packages that you say legislative packages, one major package we wanted to focus on is one for the military. Myself and Brian tend to work heavily with the military on rolling out new packages and to help progress our military into the future. We're working on additional military technology, the addition of Navy ships, contracting of new bases for training, as well as the center of it all, the Pentagon. Uh, Furthermore, we also plan on investing money into a recruiting campaign of the armed forces. So these are all things that we wanted to work on.
Um,
First
if I
starting
can
off,
just
if you
step
would
in
let
Go
me
there,
ahead.
finish,
Go
Mitch,
ahead.
and
yeah,
You
let me
have a
finish.
you have
ask.
a 60-second rebuttal.
I would appreciate if you would let me finish. Thank you.
Sure,
All right.
go ahead.
So not only that, right? But we're also looking on law enforcement bills. Myself along with the current president and future president of the United States working on legislation to go through both houses of Congress addressing issues pertaining to our law enforcement. It is important to have a healthy balance, of course, between law and order within this group for its full functionality. And that's why we're working on bills to further our law enforcement as well as putting checks on their powers.
Yeah, go
I'd
ahead.
like to
Yeah, you have a rebuttal. Go ahead.
I'd like to inquire there. I just wanted to clarify that matters of development and administration are Treasury and Defense Department matters. And on the topic of a pay system, I believe Fleet Admiral or Admiral of the Navy, Raz, is implementing that on his own basis.
Right.
Just because
Yeah, go ahead.
that doesn't mean that things can't be done to further that. Of course, as you know, uh, the government really has no influence over developer oversight matters. But at the end of the day, it is important to consider that. To consider that. Sorry, apologies. 1 second. It is important to consider that we do have some say in things. Just because
Well, yeah,
we don't
I'm
have
just
ultimate
trying to
control.
clarify here that you're not going to put anything related to development or the federal budget through a bill. It's going to be through the Treasury Department or the Defense Department.
And you
It's going to
mentioned
be an
Roswell, correct?
administrative matter, not a legislative matter.
You mentioned Roswell, correct?
Yes.
He's currently working with Biden on the things that I just said. Uh, Razora, I
Okay,
think he
well,
stated publicly that
this
he's
was in
working with him.
terms of legislative packages,
Yes,
bills,
and still,
resolutions.
yes, regardless of that, I already brought up the law enforcement side of things. Did I not? Or were you just not
No,
listening?
I was correcting you in the sense that development and budgetary issues are not matters that would go through the Senate or
Well,
the
I don't know
House.
because apparently, according to developers, budgeting is something that might be looked at in the future. Just because budgeting is not something that's happening right now because we don't have fully functioning Congresses doesn't make it something that's going to be completely ruled out in the future.
Well, we do have fully functioning Congresses. We or Congress. We just don't have a budget.
Or bills.
We do have bills. You're surely mistaken there.
right? But progressive bills, ones that are actually going to change the game.
Well,
Do you?
I'd go take a look at the Congress Trello.
All right, please do. And
No,
regardless,
I
the
already have.
legislative package that we're
I've played a
talking about
key
includes
role
the
in
authority
most
that
of
the
the
part of the budget.
legislation that
Development will
has
be included
passed
through
so far.
purchases and
There's
contracted
about
development.
20
That makes a
items
congressional
you might want to
liability.
take a look at before you write them off.
No, nobody wrote them off. I'm
You
simply
did.
saying,
You did.
nobody's writing. I'm simply saying that we need bills, laws that are going to progress our game. We're going to progress the future of AR. We're just saying these. Go ahead, please. Give examples of
Well,
the.
well, while we're on the topic of
The
progressing
federal
AR,
senior force
okay,
that
okay, I'm
was
gonna let you
Please stop.
finish
Let
that
Michael
quickly.
talk. Let Michael talk.
Okay, now while we're on the topic of progressing AR, I want to talk about some things that have been going on in the actual game, if I can. Things that have been going on in the last few days with the gang epidemic, with the amount of crime that has been spewing around our various cities. I mean, just many issues already. And Egg has a question about that in a second, but I want to show the viewers some photos of the Bacon Gang moving around Noosa. Can we put that up on the screen? Yeah, you can see that on the screen. The Bacon Gang moving across LA in our various cities. And I want to talk to you, William, and Matrix about this because this is a very important issue to some voters. And it will have an impact on this election, especially with the business owners, with the people that are just going in to have a good time and are constantly getting shot. I mean, just it takes the fun away. Crime is going through the roof. It's not that good. So, William, what are your thoughts about this crime? I know we've talked about this before on various different occasions, but your thought on this crime? What do you think you would do as if you were president, and what do you think your campaign and armament stands for on this crime? Because it's not very good at all. What should be done about it, in your opinion?
Well, Michael, I think there has been an imbalance created since the game just came out very recently, within a week or so, and there are 700 players, and there's about 20 or 30 members of law enforcement. So we need to actively work to try and more evenly distribute the ratio of potential criminals to law enforcement officers.
Okay. All right. So, thank you, William. Now, Matrix, Mitch, your thoughts about the crime? What should we do? What should we be doing about that?
My apologies. For 1 second, I actually not lagged out, but I was lagging really badly. So can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So there's a lot of crime going on in America. There's a lot of crime going on. There's gangs, gang violence, robberies. All that is going up. It's gone up by 130% according to NBC News polling. What are you going to do about crime? What do you think we should be doing about that? Locking them away, things of that nature. What should we be doing about that?
Well, as my former experience, I hate to bring up Ridgeway again, but my former experience is being not only a member of former, former, this is the thing about NUSA, being formerly NUSA. The problem is when we had positions back at NUSA, they really weren't taken seriously. Let's be real. Most of the time, people had access to a team. They would just shoot people. You see someone shoot somebody, you shoot the next person. You don't like this person, you arrest them with the arrest tool. The thing about Ridgeway was that it actually brought some realism. And like I said, I hate to bring it up, but Ridgeway actually took things seriously. So my experience as not only a member of the Ridgeway County Sheriff's
That's
Office,
debatable. Go ahead.
mm, we can debate this all you want. I'm glad to. From when it go from Noosa to Ridgeway experience, the truth is you're gonna get more out of your Ridgeway experience in terms of actually trying to learn something about law enforcement, and
In
justice.
that
That's the
regard,
truth.
yeah, probably. In that regard, probably.
Yes, in that
Yeah, yeah.
regard. Yes. So my point is, as with my former experience,
Hmm.
I can 100% help Biden progress towards the policies that he needs to put forward for the American people and for cops, for criminals. Like I said, it's important functionality. For the functionality of the game, we need criminals. And that's the truth. That's the truth. We need criminals for full functionality of the game. But we also want to limit this so that it's not to the point where people are trying to go out and vote and they can't even get to the polling station because they're being shot. It's important to establish law and order within American roleplay. So that's going to be my focus,
Yeah.
especially in helping Biden progress forward.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about, and now Egg has some questions as well. I think it's, again, we're talking about this around this same topic. So Egg, go ahead and talk about that.
Right. Our community has been plagued with many issues already. We've seen war as well as crime sprees within our city of Los Angeles most recently. How would your administration respond to any crises like this? It should be noted that I am not asking how you would respond to these situations themselves, but situations similar. Uh, Liam, would you like to go first?
Yeah. Well, I think to better combat crime, and even in times of war, the president needs to take a strong stance and enter America into a state of martial law. He needs to petition Congress to suspend habeas corpus so military personnel can act as law enforcement, in effect bypassing posse comitatus. That is what needs to be done, in effect, to better protect Americans in times of war and in times of mass crime.
All right. So, Mitch, go ahead with what you were going to say about that. Your thoughts about X question.
I agree and disagree with what Liam said. I do agree that in times of war that something like that might be necessary, but in times of mass crime, when there's crime and there's a big issue within the city of Las Vegas, to be honest, there really shouldn't be a need or necessity to call martial law or to call a state of emergency or whatever case may be, because if we have strong agencies, then that will never be the problem. If we have the FBI, shout out to the FBI, by the way. Y'all doing your thing. But shout out to FBI, DHS. They're really gonna be ramping up and revamping their entire system. Me and Brian, like I said, we plan on rebuilding DHS system, the high command system from the ground up, and all these things that Liam just said won't be necessary in the case that we have strong agencies. And what Biden's focus is, especially going into this next term, hopefully, is focusing on law enforcement and restructuring these departments so that they can form at high capability, and there's not a need to call for martial law or a state of emergency. Of
Well, I
course,
don't know if
unless
you've been around
let
long
me
enough,
finish.
but
You're gonna
you
let me
might
finish.
remember the
You're gonna
Yatta
let me
War.
finish, my brother. You're gonna let me finish, my brother. All right. So things like
Yeah,
that
I
won't be
remember the
necessary.
Yatta War. Right, go ahead.
Yeah, things like that I believe won't be necessary unless we are truly in a state of war. For example, this whole situation with Russia and Ukraine, not talking about real life, I'm talking about here. I know we recently pulled out of that entire situation, but in that case, that those are different circumstances. But in circumstances where we have crime, and when departments eventually talk about adding counterterrorism units and things of that sort, there won't be a really big need for a state of emergency and putting the country into a crisis.
Oh, it's not exactly putting the country into a crisis, more as better protecting Americans. Like, I remember in 2018, in May, the first Yatta War in Noosa in Las Vegas, I was very, very happy when Tim Geithner declared martial law because I was very sick of being spawn killed by the Yattas. That's a prime example.
Okay, but the military should be focusing on protecting our county abroad. I mean, our country abroad. Apologies. We have homeland security for that, like for domestic issues, for which why we are passing the expansion bill. We must keep law. It's only half of law and order. We won't have activity unless our agencies can step up from these problems. It cannot just be the military. The military has different usage, and I've said this already. This is clear that the military should be focusing on issues abroad unless there are severe circumstances which the military has to be deployed domestically. We have Homeland Security, we have the FBI, we have the Secret Service, we have agencies upon agencies upon agencies, and more agencies to come that can handle crime within Las Vegas. If there's a dire need, then that's a different
Los
situation.
Angeles.
Las Vegas.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Los
Oh
Angeles.
no. Oh no. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Los Angeles.
Okay, guys. Another question. That's really good. Egg, anything else from you on the questions?
All right. I
Yeah, go
received a
ahead.
question from the National Security Advisor. We wanted to get your thoughts, your opinions. What would you do, or how would what would you how would you feel if the National Security Advisor were to declare the Bacon Gang a terrorist organization?
I want to add on to that. I believe I just got a message from the newsroom about that. Um, I believe he declared it as a terrorist organization 5 minutes ago. So this was at 9:30. So I think that's a pretty interesting thing. So talk to us about that. That's pretty big news there. Your thoughts on that, guys?
William, you can go first.
Well, I think that we cannot label members of a peaceful organization as terrorists specifically unless they have foreign connections. However, when we want to look at individuals, I would support the National Security Advisor deeming specific individuals within the Bacon Gang as domestic terrorists.
Okay. Mitch, go ahead.
Can I get a repeat of the question, please?
Right. The National Security Advisor has just declared Sponge Gang as a national security threat, a gang member. They've declared it as a terrorist organization, a national security threat. What is your thoughts on that? And what are your opinions on that as the Sponge Gang is now a terrorist organization in the United States' eyes?
So sorry, just to be clear, you're referring to Akon artist, correct?
His bacon gang, yes.
Yeah.
You said if it was made a national security threat,
That's right. It was
Yeah.
made a terrorist organization.
how would I feel?
Right. How do you feel about that?
I mean, well, that's his business. I mean, from what I've seen, a con artist, I would hate to go public with this, but everybody already knows he's a criminal. He goes to Los Angeles. He claims that he brings activity to the game, but he's actually, I mean, as a president, or vice presidential candidate, apparently he's both. But the point is, he goes and he promotes crime, and to be honest, I don't know what else to say. If his gang, sorry, is declared a national security threat, uh, I don't know. It says currently our president doesn't support the decision, and I'm sure it'd be debated as soon as possible.
Yeah, the bacon gang. I'm sorry, not the sponge gang. The bacon gang. Yeah, right. Okay.
Like currently our president, he's gone to LA himself. He enforces the law. He detains criminals. He arrests criminals, and in
Yeah.
comparison to other candidates,
Right.
he has they haven't done much in terms of law and order.
Absolutely agree with you on that. So my next question, because crime is undoubtedly a big issue in this election. You've got to understand that, guys. It's a huge issue in this election, and it has dominated the news cycle for months now, for weeks now. How much crime has been going on, not just even in the release of the game, but just in our community in entirety. Now, I want to talk to you about the toxicity problem we had in the last few hours, in the last 48 hours. Now, some of you all may know this very well. Some of you all may not, but again, as a government official, was caught dressing as George Floyd, as well as group administration participating in a racist act for trying to reenact the George Floyd crisis in 2020. That whole incident that caused nationwide outrage. They try to pretend to be Derek Chauvin with guns and all that kind of stuff. We put that on the screen for you. So you can see what they did. They pretended to reenact the situation with Centaur, the government official, saying, "I can't breathe." And that's not the only one. And it seemed like group administration is actually backing Centaur and stating racist things, saying it doesn't matter, etc., etc., all that kind of stuff, making an excuse for sly, racist comments, and you have government officials saying, you say, you can put that up on the screen as well. Yes, massa, acting like a slave. And he told us on MSNBC in a digital exclusive backstage before he went on our interview last night. He said he wants to act like a fat black man, a stereotypical fat black man. And these are the people that are actually working in our government, which is absolutely insane. So I want to start with you, Mitch. What are your thoughts on this group management, and are we just returning to our same toxic ways, which it seems like that is what's going on, similar to what's going on, what happened in Noosa, why we came here in the first place. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
I'd hate to mention race, but I'm myself, I'm black, so seeing this behavior around the community, like, I I can't say I'm surprised. If I'm really honest, I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, at the end of the day, most of the people who are here are either from Noosa or I can't even say
Or
elsewhere.
yeah, I get what
Most
you're
of the people
saying.
are from Noosa. Yes, exactly. So personally, how I feel about this, our campaign, we personally denounce this. We don't support it, and we call them out on their bigotry and their racism. It's quite sad that this is even taking place. It's against Discord terms of service, against Roblox terms of service, and I'd hate to get into more details because this is a reveling topic. But in terms of Centaur being a member of the cabinet, that is not true. He's no longer a member of the cabinet. He's been retracted. Well, his nomination has been retracted, and he's currently being fired from the Department of State. As we said, our group, we don't support this whatsoever. And yeah, there's not much more to say about the topic.
Yeah, it's not surprising at all what the amount of toxicity that seems to be brewing once again in our country. I don't know. Will this turn us to back into some bad news at times? William, what is your thoughts on this? I know this has been trending in the news cycle for a long time.
Well, geez, Michael. The, it's shameful that people are going out doing these things, but then to take it a step further, Michael, you've got group management running around, starting an American roleplay TikTok and advertising the group in conjunction with
Right.
Black
I mean,
Lives
they're
Matter,
advertising Black Lives Matter on
and then
TikTok. Exactly.
they go and they condone behavior such as this. It's hypocrisy at its finest, Michael, and it's just shameful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really like those responses. So we're going to take a pause for a quick commercial break to allow everyone to get some water, take a breather. When we come back, we're going to have some questions on the foreign policy of both of you, and then we're going to have some final thoughts, and then we're going to wrap up for this evening. Thank you so much for watching tonight's debate. We'll be right back with more of the VP debate live on NBC News.
back.
All right, and welcome back to the Vice Presidential Debate here live on MSNBC. I'm Michael Smith, joined by Egg Boiler 2K. My oh my, I just lost my words right there. Co-moderator, thank you, co-moderator of tonight's debate. Okay, so continuing to join me from the Armand Foley campaign is William P. Nixon, and from Beyond Filipinos campaign, Mitch Matrix. Great to see you both continuing here tonight. So, we have some more questions before we wrap up. Now, we're going to go into foreign policy as the Ukrainian-Russian situation gets out of hand. The Russian prime minister uses big words to try to intimidate the nations of the world. How would you handle Russia? How would you handle this situation in your eyes? Start with you, William.
Well, people like this, you need to avoid them. Russia needs to understand and respect our sovereignty, our processes of war, and they need to get over it. The administration made a mistake. They pulled out of a war that they now realize to be unjust, and all is well. Russia needs to heck off with all of their demands. They're literally demanding things that they know they will not get to continue to create controversy on the international stage, and it's just a pathetic attempt to keep the spotlight on them in the UN community. It's sad.
Right. Okay, your thoughts, Mitch.
First off, I will address what Liam said not too long ago. But first, I must say Russia is truly disgusting. That's the first thing I wanted to say. And the president does stay tough on Russia and will continue to push for policies that benefit America. Um, First off, I do want to address some of the things, some of our plans in terms of foreign policy. The president is currently working on creating jobs. Uh, One moment, sorry. Uh, you can hear me? Hello, hello. All right, so the president is currently working on creating an agency within the Department of to canvas for new nations that fit our United Nations guidelines, such as development and activity. He's currently continuing to strengthen our relationship with Western Europe and is currently bringing in new members to state for the potential creation of NATO. Creation of NATO. Uh, who knows when that will happen, but that would, that is potentially something that will be there for us. But he does not back Ukraine anymore. Their president has come out as a neo-Nazi, which our administration does not support anti-Semitism or racism, to be frank. We're currently in talks with Russia about the future, and the Department of Defense is staying at standby as the situation develops. Like I said, the president and myself plan on being hard on Russia. Like we said, we did back out in helping Ukraine, but the problem is that we don't support neo Nazis or racists. The president himself was Secretary of State and visited 10 countries within 2 weeks back when we were in the LUN. Unfortunately, due to some people within our group management, we were kicked out. However, this has opened a new opportunity for us to start new. We will continue to push for the president's policies of strengthening relationships with Western Europe and look for countries within different continents. Apologies. Uh, and yeah, the president is doing as much as he can in terms of foreign policy. He's really hitting hard on foreign policy. He has many connections, great friends, with many from the Israeli administration and across the board.
Okay, right. That is really good. All right, so thank you again. So let's move on to this next question that's continuing on the foreign policy side. So this question is from a viewer, actually. What is your opinion on the state of Israel? Start with you, Mitch.
As I was saying before, the president is great friends with many within the Israeli administration. It's unfortunate that Armand Foley has ties in his campaign to the Russia that was threatening us in the LUN, owned by Yuri. But our president remains dedicated to stopping foreign interference within our democracy and our government. We support Israel 100%, and we will continue to back them. Simple as it gets.
Okay. William, your thoughts on Israel?
Well, I think as a new nation and a new international community, we can't start off unwantedly making enemies. We have to continue to strengthen our diplomatic ties that are pre existing and create new ones moving forward. We have to continue to work with Israel to better strengthen and protect America's foreign policy and project it on the international stage. That's about it.
All right, that's great, and I want to appreciate you guys for coming on tonight. Okay, so any questions from you, Egg?
Before we end off, I would like to say to the Khan administration, um, I'm very appalled that you couldn't make it here tonight. We all had a something set up that we would be here today at this time. But what I will say is that there was a mix-up. But you were definitely aware that this VP debate would be happening, and I'm sad that you wouldn't have a representative come out and take part in this lovely debate. It was sad not being able to debate you and crush you on every topic that was brought up, but maybe next time.
Maybe in the next life. Okay, so Egg, any questions from you?
I think that concludes what I have, but thanks
Okay.
to both the candidates for answering
right.
the question.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's get some final thoughts from you, William, and then we'll move to Mitch. What do you want the American people to know about your campaign? What is the final message you want to strike in stone? What is your final message? Okay, William, can you hear us?
We need to move forward, and we need to move forward together. We have to pick a direction and go in it. We have to start building. We have to build as one. Our national motto, e pluribus unum, united, or out of many, one, is exactly what we need to be now.
All right. Wow, that's so loud. Control room. All right, that's great. Thank you. Okay, Mitch, your final thoughts tonight.
The president agrees that we need to move forward. It seems Mr. Nixon agrees with Biden's campaign statement of not left, not right, but forward.
I'm gonna let you finish, but
All right,
All right, my apologies.
go ahead.
But yes, as I was saying, my,
Well,
sorry.
I think Mitch is doing the whole thing with that. Okay, well, as we have ran out of time, Mitch has not been allowed to have his final statement, I guess. Well, that's a shame. Well, any
Yes.
go ahead.
So
You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so my apologies. Something came up, was very hilarious. I apologize. But as we were saying, my final statement. I'm glad that we could make it here tonight. Liam, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, it's a shame Akon couldn't be here, or a member from his political party, whatever the case may be. But I'm glad that you could make it. It was a pleasure debating you tonight. We've known each other a long time, and I'm glad you could be here. Like I said, wrapping up, the president agrees that we need to move forward, and like Mr. Nixon said, uh, Biden's campaign statement of not left, not right, but forward, and that's all there is to it. Uh, Good luck, guys. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much. All right. Well, any final thoughts from you, Egg, before we wrap up tonight?
No, but thanks to both the candidates for coming.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us here live here from New York. Thank you all so much for watching. Parker Jackson is up next talking about the bacon hairs and what you need to know about them, the bacon-haired gang, which is just completely running out of control. And his focus tonight is going to be the bacon hairs and the amount of crime how it is going up in our cities tonight, and you need to be aware of it. It's really, really crazy. But stay tuned for Parker Jackson, the Parker Jackson Show, which is going to be immediately following the debate tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great evening. God bless. Stay safe, and I'll see you right back here in this same studio tomorrow.